Well, it's customary for the person who nominated the Patron of the Arts Award to be the introducer. But Mary Louise Pollock has had so many roles in this event today that she's asked me to do it for her. And besides introducing Chris, I'd also like to recognize Kelly, who's here with Chris, for those of all that So my remarks in introducing Christopher are thoughts from Mary Louise, myself, and I consulted the longtime friends, Margaret Wood Burnside and Aaron Fodeman. If I tried to tell you everything about Christopher and what he's accomplished, we'd be here all day. So I'm going to limit what I have to say to his association with DFAC and the greater community. Actually, the reason for Chris receiving this award. So I'm going to start at the beginning. And by the beginning, I mean of the Art Center. And as Lynn mentioned, we're celebrating our 42nd year coming up. And Chris was a part of the Art Center that long ago. He's always had a connection. Now, Aaron and Margaret reminded me of the old days when the Art Center started in the 70s and Chris was early high school. He would receive a $50 or $100 scholarship for supplies from the Art Center, and sometime after that he would come back to the board and bring in his work and show the board what he'd been doing. Margaret said, "Can you imagine someone his age doing that? Yeah. Bringing art in to show to old people?" So Margaret and Aaron have never forgotten that. And the board recognized his talent way back then and his self-determination. Margaret and Aaron commented that Chris always seemed to have a plan and a goal to reach. So we fast forward through Chris's life. He moves on from the area, and we reluctantly give Gulf Coast Art Center a little credit in Chris's early art education. But he goes to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts and studies in Italy and Europe before his return to Tampa Bay in the mid-1980s. So at that time, Chris came full circle and was an instructor at the Art Center in the early 90s. So as I said, naming all Christopher's projects would take some time. But let me list a few of the places where we can go and see what he's done. The frescoes at St. Alfred's Church in Palm Harbor, St. Petersburg City Hall, Ruth Eckerd Hall, the House of Representatives in Tallahassee, the Sand Pearl Resort, the City of Tarpon Springs, and my favorite, the Southwest Airside at Tampa Airport. I just love how that painting makes this huge empty space so personal and intimate. And then there's more. The documentation following the Deep Horizons oil spill and his most recent work dedicated to the 500th anniversary celebration of Florida, and on and on. And why do I mention all these? You'll notice that the projects are done with a sense of community in mind. While Chris is earning a living as an artist, he's involving us as well. He's leaving a legacy for our state and our area, documenting what life was like in Florida and how it is now. He's contributed so much to our cultural richness. Although he makes it look easy, his success comes with so much planning and hard work, with detailed investigation of his subject matter and materials, and an exquisite attention to detail shown in the presentation of his work. And one time in talking with Chris, he described himself as a realistic regionalist, And Chris, I hope I have that right. I couldn't Google that to make sure. It was my memory I was counting on. So perhaps he can elaborate on that. Christopher is our homegrown artist, our local treasure, our member of the Florida Artists Hall of Fame, and the Art Center is proud that he is accepting this award today. But most of all, besides his accomplishments in the arts, he's just such a wonderful, well-rounded person. He's thoughtful, generous, and caring, and he always appreciates and never forgets those who have supported him along the way.
Yeah, he does it.
As an instructor at the Art Center, Mary Louise described him as being so attentive to his students and a real willingness to share his talent and knowledge. We're all proud to call Chris a friend, and especially a friend to the Art Center in the past, now, and into the future. Please join me in congratulating Christopher and receiving the Patron of the Arts Award in 2012.
That is really something to be given a Patron of the Arts Award from all your patrons. I know, that may be a first. I know you weren't prepared for me to speak, but I'd like to talk about you. And I have 3 stories and a personal secret to share with you. And I want to answer some frequently answered questions. The reason why I'm on the cover of Tampa Bay Magazine so often is because in 1984, when I came back here, Sid and Tell and Aaron and Margaret sat down and decided that it would be best if perhaps Aaron and Margaret adopted me to make it official, because I have been kind of I've been a foster child of Dunedin Art Center my whole life. To say that art has evolved in Dunedin would be clearer to say that the only real sculpture projects that were going on when I was a child was at Allen's Florist on Main Street. And Allen was the only real evidence, Allen's Florist was the only real evidence of a cultural institution downtown. Except for the periodic gathering of women in blue suits with tartan neckerchiefs, carrying out signboards saying "Art Show Today" at Dunedin Marina Park, which is where Art Harvest started. I have an empty chair at the table where among the many dear friends that I have here is staying, and it's empty because Larry White is he's this is what I did not want to do. He's having some serious health problems, and so is his wife. But Dunedin had a small center over at Fisher Field where kids like Susan and Tell, now Susan Benjamin, and Richard and the Ranks and Catherine Bergman and all of us went over and did these little classes. And the first story I have to tell you about my family is my father. Has anybody vegetable gardened in Pinellas County? See, at first you said yes, but then Pinellas County, why is that you have not vegetable gardened in Pinellas County? Everyone said to my dad, you cannot grow corn in Pinellas County. And so my dad would put the plastic down and we'd kill everything underneath the ground, and we'd bring lots of cow manure, and we would put water on it, and we'd pull the weeds, and we'd grow, and we'd work, and we would produce. We would produce from this incredible extensive amount of work an ear of corn that was about this big. We'd watch it grow up. It would just be this dwarf example of a piece of corn, which, if you know my beautiful father, we would take it in and we'd boil that piece of corn, and we would all cut it into a piece and have a piece to eat, because the sandy soil was not fertile enough to grow anything here. But the act of seeing that first piece of corn grown made us excited and even more determined that the next time the additive cow manure we kept dumping on it, the soil got better and better and better over the years, and we actually started growing corn and tomatoes and lots of cucumbers, pumpkins, all kinds of things. I'll suggest to you that I remember quite well when 6 or 8 kids were in the Fisher building and someone said we should build an art center, that we felt it was far too expansive to have 2 rooms for art. There was a pottery room and there was a painting room. And those 2 rooms had classes that were bursting at the seams with 10 people in each of them. And the hallway was the gallery. And Sid and Tell's coming in, and she's gone to New York. She's gotten a Chagall print. She's thinking about opening a gallery, you know. And it is unbelievable if you took a list of children at what they're accomplishing right now. If you have any idea out of Dunedin is like a bursting. We get emails all the time with people that are writing children's books or in the entertainment field that have come over that we have lost track of. There are so many people that, as this thing bloomed and Dunedin saw that art could really, you know, take shape, and we saw the evidence of a few little pieces of corn coming out of something that we poured a lot of cow manure on. Like Douglas Baker and Eleanor Baker struggling to, 2 of them push a wheelbarrow to put the bricks outside with his hat on. Like T.J. McQuillan, who wouldn't care if he even took time to put his toupee on straight when he came in. Would sit there to come in and do all the books for free. If you can imagine sitting out there and knowing the detente discussions of Carlo Rossi wine Chablis with Nancy McIntyre and John Hubbard and Barbara sitting out there on the back night after night after night with Gladys, talking to her and going through these discourses. And all the while, what were you thinking? You were telling kids, follow your heart, follow your dream, you can become an artist. What the hell were you thinking? That is really... That is, and this is the R-rated version of this story. This is a true story. I am 11 years old, And I go into the mall and there's a woman drawing a portrait. And I always have taken art incredibly seriously, and I apologize. I mean, really, I just always thought that was just so huge all the time. I went up to her and I said, how, with your skill, you're beautiful. I wanted to compliment her. You draw so beautifully. How can you do that in a shopping mall? And she turned to me and looked me right in the eyes, and she said, fuck you. And now I understand what she meant. There was no place to show your art. There was no gallery. There was nothing. The Junior Service League and all of you I'm looking at in this room were out there busy at work just trying to get an outdoor show. My first outdoor show was at Dunedin Marina for the Art Harvest on clotheslines, you know, and so I graduate from art school. I actually follow it. I get these scholarships. I go off and go to art school. I come back and everybody's like, I'm like, now what? Okay, I'm an artist. Now I'm gonna make art. Now what? Here's the Art Center picking up on that, giving me a job as a teacher. Here are my students who fervently had remorse for me, took my class, bought my paintings. Aaron and Margaret were going to the garden parties. You know how there's always that piece of art that's left on the wall that's got nothing on it? It's got like, it's $100. I don't think I'm gonna buy that. Aaron and Margaret are running around with armfuls of art, putting their name, buying my paintings that are at Art Harvest. Sid and Tell gives me a launching show in her gallery. And she says, let's make a poster. And we make a print together. Aaron and Margaret put me on the cover of their magazine and have successively done that. I mean, people get the impression that I'm famous because of them. They go, we see you in everything. We say, no, you're just reading Tampa Bay Magazine. I don't want to tell them that. It's Tampa Bay Magazine. No, we saw you on the cover of something, and we saw you at something other event. Yeah, it's the same magazine. I was in there 2 or 3 times. Here's my last story and my secret for my family. Some of you may not realize that Santa Claus may or may not exist. My father, his family, for generations, take a potato and cut the potato in half and carve a reindeer hoof out of the potato. They used to take a long stick and put it in the snow to make reindeer tracks across the snow. My dad had to alter that in Florida by mixing Nestle Quick. And he would stamp muddy footprints across the floor outside. He would take pieces of red velvet with fur on it and leave it torn in the door like Santa Claus's coat had gotten torn in the door. He was so good at making these incredible things that I went far too long believing in Santa Claus. In 2nd grade, I was still trying to call the newspapers to tell them, there are reindeer tracks outside our house. You gotta come see them. It's so amazing. I come from a privileged background. My parents were magical. And to have a family that supports you like that, you grow up one day, and when I learned he was Santa Claus, I still went on for many years after that pretending that I didn't know, because I loved still getting all the stuff. But it would be a mistake to not grow up and realize where all that magic was coming from. I am 55 years old. I was there when Fisher Field, there was no community center, there was nothing. You all have been along with me on the road since the very, very, very beginning. I share that story with you about the reindeer track because that is supposed to be a secret that is only within our family how we do that. And I share it with you because you are my family. I am aware of where the magic comes from. I don't take myself so seriously to not know that all of the things that I've been recognized from have been from you all's support. And I also grow up enough to know that a parent's love is not something, or people's kindness, or people reaching out to you, or people thinking of giving you an award, or people thinking to include you in their magazine, or people thinking to do stuff nice for you, that they have to do that. Because all of you deserve nice things, and to be lifted up, and to be thanked. And you also realize that having someone love you as much as your mother does, and be proud of you as much as your mother, and have a selfless concern for taking you through life, that you're lucky to have a mother like that cares like you. No one else will do that. And I've had that happen to me with Kelly. I've never known what it's like to have within my household somebody be there so much for me. I get so much credit for being nice because of her. She's the sweetest. So, in closing, I'd like you to close your eyes, please. Close your eyes. And imagine that I am standing in front of you. And I want to say, thank you. Thank you very much. I love you. Thank you.